Greetings and salutations, fine people. I'm Patti Alvarez. Welcome to The Good Soul, a show where we'll have supercharged chats with everyday humans from all walks of life and unpack what in their story will inspire us all. We'll extract the untapped wisdom, distill it, and serve it up to you in all the right ways that will engage, enlighten, and most of all, inspire growth within your soul. I think people are awesome. So join me on this journey through the hearts and minds of ordinary people to uncover the good soul within you. This is The Good Soul. Hello, world. Welcome to The Good Soul, episode 16. Our episode is titled Rockstar Goddess Girl. And I am lucky enough to be sitting here with one of my favorite people, Lizette Totillo. You're very welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patti.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
I just am thinking back to the moment that we met. And I always say it was love at first. Well, it wasn't love at first sight because we met at Elaine's.
Oh, that's
right.
And
I was captivated by you.
That's right.
Yes, at Elaine's 50th birthday party.
And I remember asking myself, who's that? Who's that?
Me
lady?
too. Yeah. We're at a 50th birthday party when we meet. This is probably 6 years ago, I'm guessing, 5 or 6 years ago, at Pisces.
At Pisces, outside, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, of course, you're captivating. So I was like, who's that myself? And then I hear you say, you're welcome. I hear you say that you're in a band.
Right.
And I was like, God. And she's in a band. Even cooler. So
really?
Yeah, exactly. And I get excited by that stuff. I get really I need to know more. I want to know this person.
So how long after that was it that I walked through the studio doors?
Okay, so this is funny. So, okay. Let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
Let's back up a little bit. So this is Lizette Totillo World. And I think I want to say the most important reason why you're here is if anybody doesn't know Lizette through Blue Monday, definitely you can go online, Google the band Blue Monday, Lake Norman. They are extraordinary. We'll get into that. But you're also a Renaissance woman. I mean, you're a certified Bikram yoga instructor, which is to me that's a superpower. You're a licensed private investigator.
Yeah. That's
a superpower. You work in banking right now. You're in security, a kind of cybersecurity, I guess you would say, for banking.
It's not cybersecurity, it's more fraud.
More fraud, okay. That, what am I missing? You're a mom.
Pew, pew.
Pew, pew, yes, that's right. That's right, we have pew, pew. We'll get to all of this stuff. And on top of it all, you are just a stone cold fox. I mean, you're so beautiful, but more on the inside to me than on the outside. So
Thank you.
You're absolutely my cup of tea.
Thank you.
Inside and outside.
Inside and out, as within, so without. Yes.
The man's.
So that's how Lizette and I met. So we were at Elaine's 50th birthday party at Pisces. We see each other, and of course, we definitely have some kind of
connection.
Magnetized. Yeah. So cut to probably, I would say, a year or two later, I'm in the locker room at Good Soul. And I'm going to guess this is 2016, maybe?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And Amy still owned the studio. Right. And I'm showering. I'm blow drying my hair. And you walk in with Amy. Amy's like, oh, this is Lizette. And she used to teach at the studio and she's back. And I was like, how do I know that person, first of all? And then I think we made the connection in that moment or maybe within the next, within that day that we had met.
Right.
And I just remember when you left, and I was like, Amy, where has she been? Why didn't she come here sooner? It was at that point just me and Amy teaching at the studio.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was great to have you back here, and
it was great to be back.
Yeah,
it was great to be back, and it was really lovely to see you. And in that moment, I didn't remember you, but then when we connected in the locker room, I was like, gosh darn it, yes. That's where I remember her from.
Yeah.
And since then, your energy has just filled the studio. That day when I met you.
Yeah.
I connected with that energy.
Yeah, I agree.
And it just filled.
We have a special kind of something, you and I. It's a very sisterly, a very,
grounding.
Yeah.
Very safe, comfortable, electrifying, but very calming.
Yeah. I think it's really cool when you find friends later on in life. Now, of course, I treasure all of my high school friends, my childhood friends, but I think the older we get, we meet people like each other and we know ourselves, and it's easy. We know what to avoid. So there's no cattiness, and it kind of just flows very nicely. Yeah. And it's, I think, very nourishing and nurturing, because especially at this phase in our life, and we'll get into all of these changes that Lizette has been going through, and all of us, that it's great to be here for one another.
Absolutely.
So we have about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Let's talk about baby Lizette. Where'd y'all come from? Let's talk about where you were born.
Okay. So I was born in Astoria, Queens, in New York. Both of my parents were immigrants. So my father was from Croatia, my mother from Puerto Rico. Went to Catholic school, went to Catholic high school, went to Fordham University.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. You see? I knew I'd learn stuff the whole day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Went to Fordham University for a couple of years, didn't figure it out there. And then I went to St. John's for a little bit. Ultimately ended up getting my degree in media communications at Queens College.
Okay. Lizette, can I just interrupt and ask you a couple questions? Yeah. What are your mother and father's names, first names? My
father is Benko. So his true name is Benedict. Uh-huh. But when he came to the States, it was Benko. And my mom, Lucy.
Lucy.
Yeah. And
no
I'm an only
special,
child.
just Lucy. If I were speaking like Lucy, there's no. Okay. And how did they meet? And what was that cultural kind of collision like? Because that's pretty, and I don't want to say an odd pairing, but
no, but it's such a, it's like that perfect story of how two people meet, So my mom was living in Flushing, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but my dad was living, I want to say, in like Elmhurst, Queens. And my mom was living with her best friend, Betty.
Okay.
And
American? Sounds very American.
Betty was also, I know.
What did he say?
Lucy and Betty.
Lucy and Betty. Yeah, okay. Well, it's kind of like mixing the honeymooners and no, not the honeymooners.
No,
I love Lucy and
yeah.
It was Lucy and Ethel, but
Lucy and Ethel, right.
Yeah.
So Betty really wanted to go out that night, and my mom didn't want to go out. And Betty just kept on, come on, Lucy, let's go. Come on, we're going to have a great time. Let's go.
Right.
Fine. My mom gets dressed. She goes out. They go to the bowling alley. And in walks in this tall, cool glass of water.
Yeah.
6'2", beautiful blue eyes. And that was it. They met in 1965.
Okay.
They married in 66. And I was born in 67.
You were born in 67. And you are, this is the most impressive thing about you. You're 54?
56.
You're 56?
I'm 57. I think so.
Oh, my God. All right, you're just 2 years behind Manolo.
Yeah, I'm going to be 57 this year.
I'm not going on
camera. Yeah, isn't that, I know. I can't believe, all right, so I'm going to continue to say, seeing her perform live, you're ageless. Okay, we have to wrap up this segment. So we're going to leave off with where your parents met.
Right.
And in our next segment, we're going to get more into your youth and what brought you into the music business and all kinds of good stuff. So guys, don't go away. Rockstar Goddess Girl with Lizette Totillo, The Good Soul, episode 16. See you in a few. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Good Soul. This is episode 16. We are talking Rockstar Goddess Girl and all things related with my dear sweet friend, sister from another mister, Lizette Totillo. Welcome back.
Likewise, doll. I love you.
All right, so we're talking about how Benko and Lucy met somewhere around 1965 at a bowling alley in Flushing,
Yeah,
New
they
York.
met in a bowling alley, and I think one of the most beautiful stories that I remember my mom and dad sharing with me was that my dad didn't have a car, so he would ride his bicycle from Elmhurst to Flushing, or vice versa. Like one lived there and the other,
Okay.
But he would ride that bicycle in the rain, in the snow.
It's so romantic.
I know.
It's so romantic.
Like, Dad, come on.
Oh, my God.
Like,
Okay.
those are some serious points.
Yeah, definitely serious points. So are either of them musicians or singers?
Both of them were singers.
Okay.
My mom had a beautiful first soprano voice. My dad had a beautiful voice. He also played guitar.
Okay.
And that was probably one of the most beautiful, I guess, memories growing up, is that we always sang.
Okay.
We always sang. There was always song in the house. If it wasn't playing, on the boombox, that huge thing with the cassette player, right, that you carried around with you.
Of course.
So we would always be singing, and it was always harmony.
Okay.
It was beautiful.
And P.S., just for the record, I just Googled boom boxes on Amazon because I want one. And they have boom boxes that look like boom boxes from the 80s.
Like the ones you carry.
With current technology. And I'm
awesome.
Getting one. Hey, my husband keeps asking me what I want for my birthday. Instead of my tiled mantle. Well, he won't tile the mantle for me, so I'll take a boom box. Anyway, no, he does a lot, but he's being stubborn. We'll talk about this later. So anyway, let's kind of fast forward through. I'm sure you had, unless there's anything really profound. So you said you went to Catholic school all the way through high school?
All the way through high school. And
what
then,
was the name of it?
So my grammar school was Most Precious Blood.
I love these names.
MPB for short.
Okay.
And then high school was Cathedral High School.
Okay. All right.
So
Most Precious Blood was more fun. But
so my high school was affiliated with Cathedral High School in the Archdiocese. Okay. So I had my first real singing debut at St. Patrick's Cathedral because I was in the choir. So, and that was pretty remarkable. That was an intense moment for me. And I don't know that I really was absorbing all of that, in the moment. But when I look back at it now, we were up, in that, it wasn't a pit, but it was, it was up in that choir area.
Where they were on Sister Act.
And exactly. With all of the organ pipes surrounded by that. And I think about that now and I go, wow, that was a pretty great moment. Yeah.
And it's powerful not only from the artistic perspective, but also any place of worship, but most notably St. Patrick's Cathedral. I mean, I don't care what affiliation you are, you walk into a place like that and your hair stands on end.
Exactly.
There's something not of this world happening.
Yeah.
So. So high school. And at what point do you meet... I'm not going to cheapen this by calling him her baby daddy, but for ease and efficiency, you're Matt, who's your ex-husband and the father of your two children. What point do you meet him?
So I met Matt when I was, I want to say around 27.
Okay.
And met him by just auditioning. I was in a couple of bands, one of them called Full Speed Ahead.
Okay.
Which was, a little corny.
Did you come up with that name?
No, I didn't. No, I can't take the credit for that.
I was going to say she's even cooler than I thought, but anyway. No, that's cute though. It was 80s.
Exactly. But we met, I was 27. I auditioned for the band and, got in and we married in 1999.
Okay.
And we had our daughter in 2000, Kira.
And
then in 2004, we had our son, Evan.
Now he's 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you marry and you have both kids in New York or at that point?
Yeah. So Matt and I, we lived in Flushing, Fresh Meadows, Flushing. We lived in an apartment. It was actually close to St. John's University.
Okay.
And we had our daughter. And shortly after that, I say shortly, she was probably close to 2 years old. And then we found a home out in Long Island in Salisbury.
Okay.
And we moved there. And then 2 years later, so Kira was 4, we had Evan.
Okay. And what made you decide to move to the Lake Norman area?
So Matt and I had our kids. Matt's job really required him to move, to travel a lot, right?
Okay. So what did he do outside of the band?
It's all computer, programming, technology stuff.
Oh, and P.S. World, for those of you who don't know, Matt is the keyboardist to this day in Blue Monday, just to kind of paint a picture for you.
Right. So we had Blue Monday back in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we had Blue Monday back in New York. That's when I joined. And then Matt and I got married. We had 2 kids. We moved here in 2005. Okay. I remember flying here with Evan. He was like, it was March. So he was born in October. He was like 5 months old.
Aww.
I still actually kept his outfit.
Baby Evs.
I know.
So it was basically his job that got you here.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
I always laugh. I always say, like, if Manny's ex-wife's cousin didn't move here, like one of like this remote person was the first of his family to move here, that I wouldn't be here. Literally, like, was it Pat or Dennis? Dennis. It was Dennis Newman. Yeah, I know. I always laugh. Yeah, Manny loves. I haven't really gotten to hang out with him, but they're all nice people. I get along with all. Everybody's nice. Yeah. So okay, so you get here, and at that point, you're raising your kids. Do you get right into working?
We have a home. We purchase a home. And shortly after being here, Matt's like, we got to put the band back together. We should put Blue Monday together here. And I was kind of like on the fence. I was like, I don't know. Like, we really don't know anything about the music scene here yet. Like, what is this going to look like?
Was there anything like that at the time?
So, yes, there was a band. And of course, I'm not going to remember the name of it. It was like Candy Crush, or it's gonna eat at me now. I'll remember it though.
Okay.
And we put the band together. We, put out some advertisements for drummers, guitarists, and bassists, and we started getting a lot of love.
Did we have ads? Was it newspaper at that point, or was it online?
No, it was online.
It was online.
Yeah, it was online.
Okay, you didn't have to go to the classifieds at that point?
No, we kind of moved past that.
We moved past that, okay.
But I remember those.
Yeah, God.
I remember getting my first car that way.
So much work. Cars, apartments, jobs. I know. We saw a movie the other night. I'm like, dude, I'm so glad we don't have to do that anymore.
I know, you'd circle it with your pen.
God, and then call the person. Anyway, and I digress.
So then we put the band together, and it was a really good fit. And then one of our first shows was the Taste of Charlotte.
And that is a festival or
yes, and it
venue?
Still runs every year. Yeah,
okay.
The Taste of Charlotte. It's like all of the restaurants come out, and you get to like, you pay like whatever that fee is, like and then you have like this wonderful 4-course meal.
Stand.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So are those original band members still a part of Blue Monday?
One is.
And
2. Yeah. 2 of them are.
2 of them are. Okay, so for my friends far, far away, like my Northeast friends, Blue Monday I would equate to like Brian Kirk and the Jerks in New Jersey. So Brian Kirk is a friend of mine, and he has a band that, like I said, it's called Brian Kirk and the Jerks. And they draw crowds similar to Boatyard Eats. There's a bar in New Jersey called Donovan's. There used to be Trade Winds, but Trade Winds is now million dollar homes. But they're just like you, same thing. And I would love. They go down sometimes to Key West and play at what is it? Hog's Breath? Is it? I can't remember. One of those bars in Key West.
Yeah,
I think it's Hog's Breath. And I would love to get you 2 together. I feel like I messaged him, or we talked at one point, and I was telling him about you and how great it would be.
I want to say you mentioned him to me.
Yeah, they're extraordinary. And actually, we just watched a video of Bruce Springsteen. They were playing, was it 10th Avenue Freeze Out, is it? Yeah, behind Donovan's, which was really cool. But anyway, so for those of you who don't know, when you go, so the first time I came to see you, so this will kind of be our segue into the band. The first time I went and saw Lizette was, I believe, at Apps and Taps with you. And I walked in, and I guess I didn't realize the magnitude of your popularity around here. And it was, or had to be, I don't know, if I could guess, and you probably know the exact number, a couple thousand people.
Yeah, I don't think it holds that many, but I think close to maybe 1,000.
Yeah, like maybe just
800 or so.
And I mean, men, women screaming. And I just kept looking at Maddie going like, I know her. Like, I felt like, I know. And look at the faces. And I understand. I mean, I'm not saying, I understand why you're making that face because we know each other on a different level, but how exciting it is. Bill, hopefully, I'm going to ask Bill, the producer, afterwards, if we can get some footage of you up on the screen so that our friends in New Jersey or not who are around. Cool. And I'd also love to get the picture of your parents, the black and white of them sitting on the hill. Yeah. That would be great too. So, so you've created something really tremendous here, and we're going to wrap it up on that note. But I want to get more into Blue Monday stuff because I know a lot of people probably have a lot of the same questions that I have about what it's like to be in that position, which is really quite an honor, but you're gifted, so you deserve it. So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
so we're going to wrap up this second segment, and we'll see you guys. We'll talk a little bit more about Blue Monday and also this Renaissance women because there's lots of layers like an onion, so don't go away. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back, everybody, to The Good Soul. We're on episode 16, segment 3, and we are talking Rockstar Goddess Girl with one of my all-time favorite humans. This is Lizette Totillo to my left. Welcome back again.
Well, thank you, doll.
I sound like a game show host. What the heck was that? Anyway, so we're talking about Blue Monday.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably every girl's dream. I think that's part of it, too. So when I look at the crowd, when I stand back and look at the crowd, I see, men, I see all kinds of people, but I see women too. And I always think of Cindy telling the story on how Elaine,
she was doing backbends.
She was like so into you that like she was like dancing backwards.
Anytime Cindy and Elaine showed up, it was a yoga sesh. Yeah. It was like, okay, how can I dance and move and like incorporate a backbend?
Yeah.
Or maybe go into triangle.
Yeah. There's nobody like it. I remember, I think Cindy saying like Elaine was like, why does my back hurt? Like the next day, along with a hangover, my back hurts.
Exactly.
But I guess, as somebody who's not a rock star, and I think everybody dreams at some point of being up on stage, or at least most females do. Like, what is that?
Guys do.
Guys, well, I know that. Right. Judging from the way you were screaming from the basement, everything from AC/DC to like Eminem when he's doing work. I know you have a good voice though. What does that feel like for you? Why emotionally did you get into it? And what does it feel like? Like, what's your goal?
I don't know that it feels any different from the way that you feel as a rock star being here and creating what you create here.
Oh, you're
at
so
the studio.
Sweet. Thank you.
No, and I say that because it's a very genuine, very deep feeling, and it's raw. For me, for the longest time, I would have to admit that I was extremely insecure about how I did, never really kind of absorbed the moment being on stage. It's funny because I had a conversation with Matt. We talk all the time, several times during the week, whether it's about our kids.
Yes, sure.
Whether it's about the kids or the band or the move coming up, which we'll talk about later,
we'll get
right?
to, yes.
But he reminded me of something. And he said to me, I always remember after a show, you would always say to me or ask me, what did I do good? And I remember that. Like, I remember saying, I remember asking him that. And it's very interesting because for the first time in my life, I'd say for the last probably 10 months, I have never felt, or I have felt, so connected and having just a knowing of my purpose. And so like when people say like, oh my God, Lizette, you're like amazing. And, you make us so happy.
You do.
I don't necessarily, I embrace the amazing and I'm grateful for that. But knowing that I make people happy and that I'm giving them something, that I'm fueling them in some positive way, helping them forget whatever troubles, challenges, they have in their life, that is a gift. Yeah. But that is what I've learned over the last, I'd say year, is just a coming into myself and a knowing of, I know Lizette, I know my purpose.
And you think that comes out? That comes
finally, and it's come out because our shows have just excelled from where they were, you know. And the guys will say to me, "What was that?"
Yeah.
And I look at them and go,
yes.
"What do you mean? What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Lizette, you were like on fire."
Yeah.
And it's just this. It's here and it just comes out.
It's like Jackson Pollock. Did you ever see the movie where he finally can't
exactly
paint? Yeah, it's like you're like brrr.
Exactly.
There is nothing artistic or necessarily of course, decorating the studio. I can't say that I relate because what the power that you're kind of generating at those shows is, I mean, far surpasses anything you could do within a yoga class. You're able to tap into a lot. I mean, I'm not trivializing what we do here, but it's different. But I do remember my father saying to me before he died, and I remember it was around the gas crisis, you have a gift. And I am cultivating this gift, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who can analyze my performance at this microphone or even in the yoga studio on the podium, but to be able to connect with people through conversation, maybe it be through music for you. Yeah. But for me, and I'm sure you agree with this, it's not about money or notoriety. And I think that the second you stop being profit motivated and you just want to make the world a flippin' better place. You want to.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember, I think it was either Terry Elmquist or Mary Jarvis said once about yoga is you just want to leave your students feeling better. And that's a very broad term, and it's very individualized, and that's something only they, and I say that pretty much in every class I teach. And I'm sure the same would hold true for you.
Yeah.
And I just want to back up a little bit to when you asked Matt, what did I do right? And the first thing that popped into my mind is like, what aren't you doing right? What didn't you do right is more the question. I mean, probably then and now. And P.S., when we were at your mother's funeral and I looked at pictures of you, it's not like you were the nerdy girl with like the braces, buck teeth, and braids. I mean, you were beautiful from the get-go. I mean, you were a beautiful young lady too.
Oh,
it's not like you're very welcome. No. So it's impressive too to see somebody with this, you seem to have a pretty stable upbringing. Like
I did have a stable upbringing. I mean, my parents, they separated when I was 14.
14.
Split.
Okay.
But, my upbringing was, if you're speaking in like the sense of like an American upbringing, it wasn't your conventional American upbringing. From the disciplining and like the food I ate, the traditions that we had, it was all from mostly my dad.
I was going to ask, did your mother learn to cook Croatian?
A little bit, but my dad was a great cook and my mom was a great cook. So they would kind of, do it together, or my dad would mostly cook. So I didn't grow up like having bologna sandwiches or ham and cheese sandwiches. My dad would get, he'd go to the Italian deli and he'd get a nice Italian, roll. Right. And I would have prosciutto and roasted peppers and cheese and olive oil and
Whole Foods.
It was a meal. And, going to school, he would meet me. He would come to school, bring it to me in this brown paper bag while everybody else had a lunchbox. And so, don't look at me. I'm not trying to attract any attention here. But, all the kids would be like, oh, gosh. That's weird.
My mouth is watering right now.
I know. My mouth is actually watering a little bit too.
Please, somebody bring me a roll with prosciutto. Damn you.
Right? So, but it was different. So I was always kind of, and maybe that's where a little bit of my insecurity came from. Like I didn't know that this was something special. It was just not the norm. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, like even traditions like watching March of the Wooden Soldiers or A Christmas Story. I didn't grow up watching that.
Yeah, but that's the stuff that makes you so cool.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't know that then.
Yeah, I know. Of course not. I know. We were talking about with Sandy, and I talked about my mother with canned food, and Oprah said this too. Like, Mom, I want canned vegetables. Meanwhile, they had a garden, or the veggie guy would pull up, and you thought you were being like shafted because you weren't getting.
Right. Like the first time I had mac and cheese was when I gave it to my kids.
Like Kraft mac and cheese, you mean? Or
Like I did the craft.
okay,
I did it. I was like, I
still
got to see what this is all about. And I was like, well, it's not that bad.
we did it.
It's not that fresh.
It's not. Wait, but baby, we did.
It's not that bad. It's not that fresh.
We did it at like midnight, probably 2 weeks ago. I'm like, would you have some Kraft macaroni and cheese?
After a glass of wine or two.
Yeah, no, we don't need wine, honey. You don't know. But if you could only imagine the foods we eat in the middle of the night. But he's on a cereal kick now. What language did you speak in the home? Was it English? Or?
So I first learned English, but then my father taught me Croatian, and then when my parents split, my mother taught me Spanish. So I am trilingual.
Did either of them really try to promote their language? Or because I know my mother always used to say my mother would get mad when her mother spoke Italian, that she wanted English in the house. English. Was there any like?
No, I think my mom was just very quiet. My mom was she was just such a beautiful soul, and
she was a lady.
She was a lady, and whatever my dad kind of wanted, was that it was just that time.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful because when I go to Croatia, I'm one of, a very few people that can actually say that she was born in America and can go to Croatia and speak the language.
Yeah.
And it's appreciated.
Yeah.
It's very appreciated.
Sure. So just let's backtrack a little bit. So you lost your parents. This was major. You lost your mother first, then your father.
Lost my mother in 2021. She suffered from dementia, and it seemed like she had it. Like the onset was probably like 12
That's when
years
I met
before.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, it was a long time. And she passed away in 21.
And then your daddy,
and then my dad passed away. She passed away in February of 21. My dad passed away in April of 22.
Okay. Yeah. Her father was in Croatia at that point too, which made it even more challenging.
He left here in 2004 when I was pregnant with Evan.
Right. But you got to visit him there, which is really cool. Yeah.
I did get to visit him there.
Okay, so we're going to talk major change. So a big breakup.
Yeah.
The loss of your parents, your kids going off to college, and so much more. So guys, lots to learn and be inspired by through Lizette. So don't go away. We will see you on the flip side. Segment 4 coming up. Welcome back, everybody, to The Good Soul. We are on segment 4, and we are talking Rockstar Goddess Girl with my dear sweet friend Lizette Totillo. I want to jump right into this because we have a lot to cover in this last segment. So we left off at the loss of your parents, but I want to rewind a little bit because when I met you, you were with somebody that I would consider equally as striking as you are in a lot of ways, as powerful of a force as you are, Colin.
Yeah.
And I'm getting emotional already. I'm getting lump in my throat. It was very hot. Yeah, that was a sad thing to watch. They had a really cool relationship and life took over. Yeah. And you can kind of pick up where I left off, but let me just give you a quick rundown. So Colin, parents, kids in college, and all of these changes are stemming, I feel like, from the Colin thing more than anything.
Yeah.
So let's, elaborate a little bit on that one.
Yeah. So Colin and I were together for 8 years. We were that power couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like you felt it.
Sure.
I think a lot of people felt that when we walked into the room together.
Yeah, you both belong in Hollywood, man. It's like, yeah, very striking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to be complete, I'm an open book, and I will always say this, he was my Hercules.
I love when you say that.
Right.
It makes my heart flutter.
So it was, I thought that he was going to be the one, but things just sometimes aren't as they seem.
Yeah.
And, I can say that even though it was extremely difficult, it sucked. It really, really sucked.
I know, honey. Thank God I know.
Yeah. But if I can take anything away from that, not even so much my parents passing, but that relationship is that healing all of that pain created wisdom. It's through that process, and because of that process, that I am where I am right now, and in such a good place that I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it with anyone. I wouldn't trade, what happened.
The time spent
with
him.
Yeah.
I believe that about you.
It's just, it was meant to be that way.
Yeah, it ran its course.
It's ran.
Yeah. Well, it was, you guys were very invested. I mean, at that point too, I mean, not only were you very much in love, you lived together. So you shared a home together, a beautiful home on the water in Cornelius. You have 2 children. He had just lost his daughter.
He lost her in 2016.
2016. Yeah. So you were dealing with that, to suicide, correct? Was it suicide it was suicide? So there was that. And also he was a part of the band. I mean, I know that before he came along, as you've explained, you have, you kind of kept everything together, but then he came along and...
Well, so we created the band, Matt and I, here. I ran it. And then when I met Colin, I just looked at him and I was like, he could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I was working at that point as an investigator doing management due diligence with a company out in Stamford, Connecticut. And that really consumed me a lot. And I was like, he's able to manage his time a little bit better. I know he loves the band.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask him if this is something he would be interested in doing. And he did. He wanted to. He was interested. So he did it. And it was, that ran its course. Yeah. But since then, since I've taken over, it's just amazing how everything just kind of got lifted a little bit more.
Sure. Well, the heaviness in the relationship gets carried into that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, we do festivals. I've been booking festivals. We have some sold out shows. We have people inquiring to travel to Georgia, to travel to Florida.
Yeah.
So that is like a whole other animal. Getting a sound company over there. Obviously, we're not going to take the trailer.
Sure.
We have to fly, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. A lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts, but it's just kind of elevated. Everything has shifted.
Sure.
But in a good way. Yeah. In a good way.
Sure. As life tends to do. I mean, life tends to do that. Yeah. Okay, so another thing that I hadn't mentioned to y'all is that along with being a certified yoga Bikram instructor, and of course, a rock star, Lizette is also a private investigator, a fully licensed private investigator. Can you, just a minute or two, tell me a little bit about that? How did you decide to do that? And tell us a funny story. Come on.
So it's not that glamorous, I mean, I got my PI license after I left the Stanford company, and I was like, I'm just going to go and get my license. And
this is what year about?
Oh, gosh. What year are we in? 2024? So 2016?
Okay. Oh, recent. I thought it was even earlier than that. Okay.
No.
So nobody was cheating on you or nothing bad was happening and you're like, I'm going to go get my PI. Hide that,
No, but that was a lot. That was a lot of the job focus, and that just became really draining.
Yeah.
That just becomes a lot of negative energy and, you're following and you're
well, we had a mutual friend, and I won't give any clues other than their husband was cheating on them. And you were on the case.
I remember that.
It was draining for me, and I was watching from the sidelines. I mean, I can't. All I remember is you telling me the story about having to crawl under a car or something.
Oh, my God.
Picturing your long, skinny legs.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah, it's not glamorous.
Do stuff.
Yeah, you got to do stuff. But it is exciting, and I know, man, just watch yourself because I know people in high places. I'm going to stick her on you. No, Manny's. If there's one thing I can say among the many great things about my husband is I'm going to knock wood. He's loyal. Yeah. So. And I'm not. It's a double. I know. Well, hey, listen. Never say never. We all know this. I watch too much Netflix. Okay, so PI. We covered Blue Monday. Yeah. We talked about again the changes with Colin and your kids. So
my kids.
Yeah. So Evan, Kira.
So my daughter, she went to UNCG. She graduated UNCG with a degree in music education. Mm-hmm. And she graduated landing a wonderful position in CMS. And now she was actually teaching in between two schools. Okay. So 2 days at one school, 3 days at another school. She just got a position at Providence Day School. Okay. And she's the music director.
Wow. So that's just vocal and instrument?
So just instrumental.
Just instrumental.
Yes.
Okay.
So she's just incredible.
She's incredible. And one of my favorite, most impressive, admirable things about her is when we were at Colin's, it was his double nickel party, I believe. Yeah. Maybe even sooner. Yeah. And she walked up to me with her girlfriend. Yeah. And I had no idea. And you just, you introduced me to her. What's her name again?
Grace.
Grace, of course. How do I forget such a beautiful name? And it just made me so proud of you and proud of her. And it was like, you didn't come up to me like the week before, like, hey, I got to tell you something. Yeah, no. My daughter is a girlfriend. And no, you just, it was like.
I remember when she told me, and she walked me down to the dock, and we sat down at the dock. Yeah. And I could tell she was like a little bit uncomfortable and struggling a little bit. I was like, baby girl, what's wrong? Yeah. And she's like, Mom, I like girls. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And? Uh-huh. All right. So where we have what is the big deal? Yeah. And it's almost kind of like it's not something I didn't know already. Yeah. And it's not
you did. That's a great point.
It's not even I don't know why it should be a shock. I'm just kind of that way.
Well, that's the thing. People, I don't know a lot of people who are in that situation. And, you hear people telling the story or you see it on TV and watching it from the front row and being so I always say to my Molly and Jesse and Rachel, I would be proud of you if you ever did anything like that or anything otherwise. You would have both of our full unequivocal, there's no question.
Yeah, well, they're living their authentic self. And when I see Kira and Grace together, Patti, it is the most authentic, pure love that I have ever witnessed between two human beings. It is just so beautiful and organic and easy and comfortable and do they have their moments? Yeah. It's like,
two women. Sure.
You know?
Fight over it.
Exactly. I'm sure. But it's just so good. And I couldn't be happier.
But love is love. We have just about a minute left.
Okay.
You have made the bold decision to move to Croatia. What is that going to look like for you? Tell us why quickly, and then what's it going to look like for you?
So when my father passed, he left me this beautiful home that he created seaside in Croatia in a small town called Kožino. And my parents used to send me there. They used to send me there when I was a child, and I'd spend my summers in Croatia with my grandmother. And it's always been a part of my life. It's a part of my being. I've always been drawn to it. There's always a draw. It's in my bones, kind of like you always say. It's a part of it's in my bones. And it's that I'm at that point in my life where this is just the right time. Okay. This is the right time for me to do this, and I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have the support of my children.
Sure. And of course. Yeah. Well, that's the first question. When we have mutual friends, and I say to her, "Well, your kids are grown. The world has gotten so small with technology." And they're playing right away.
Exactly. Like when I sat my son down, who, is just another incredible soul. I didn't get to say much about him, but he's just amazing.
Yeah. Evan is. Yeah. At Tennessee?
He's at Tennessee coming back. Okay. Because he's not figuring it out there. Okay. And he's figuring it out. That might not be the place.
He'll figure it out here.
Exactly.
Okay. we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
I just have one more question. What is this going to look like for Blue Monday? Because I'm sure people are nervous. What's going to happen? She's
Blue
moving
Monday
away.
is still a force that's going to continue.
Okay.
As long as I'm alive and as long as I'm running it, it's still going to continue. We've got Heather, who has joined the band. She's on vocals. We've got all of the remaining band members that are going to continue to perform. I will be booking it remotely, managing it remotely. I will come back twice a year for about a month's time, have my cameo
and play a bunch of
appearance
shows.
and just play a bunch of
twice
shows
a year.
and just get to reconnect with people here.
Okay, cool. I feel like I want to have another episode. Like I feel like
I do
oh
too.
my God, there's so many more
I do
questions
too.
about especially Croatia.
Yes.
So guys, you can catch Blue Monday on Saturday, May 25th at Boatyard Eats, and a little birdie told me it might be some form of like Lizette Fest to see her off to Croatia. So you can check out their website. It's Blue Monday.
BlueMonday.net.
BlueMonday.net. And guys, just keep coming back every week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot and are as inspired as I am by this beautiful soul sitting to my left. So guys, thanks for being here. We will see you next time on The Good Soul. Sending much love and peace.